lion's share of responsibility for the accumulated historical emissions into the atmosphere. So with that, let me just finish up by saying something about what that might suggest for what we could define as success this year, in 2010, in December, in Cancun. First, what would be a success would be if the UNFCCC were to fully embrace, rather than view as competition, the parallel processes that are going on. Processes which are not negotiation in some cases, but are discussion and debate. The Major Economies Forum, which continues tomorrow, a creature of the United States and thereby limited because of that. The G20, which is similar in makeup, but is not limited by that because it is not a creature of a single country, although it has its own difficulties in terms of being a forum. What some people would call the C30, which would be the G20 with some of the major smaller countries thrown in, who will actually receive the bulk of the damages and are trapped in poverty, sub-Saharan Africa, small island states, and the like. So that would be one. A second mark of tremendous success would be either explicitly or implicitly to consolidate what are now 3 parallel tracks in climate policy and to emerge with 2 tracks. I mean, some of us would think 1 track was better, but that's probably not doable. There's the Kyoto Protocol track, or the second commitment period, essentially, which obviously the United States is not participating in. There's the long-term agreement and arrangements track within the UNFCCC, and now there's the Copenhagen Accord. And if the ideas and the principles behind the Copenhagen Accord could be brought inside rather than kept on the anteroom, that would be tremendous success. Also, developing better methods, as the Commissioner said, developing better methods for comparing targets and actions. We have to do both because of the way the Accord is written. For comparing targets and actions across countries would be important, and certainly moving forward with financing plans that are in the Copenhagen Accord, but recognizing when doing so that it will be leveraged private sector capital, which is going to have to do the bulk of the job. I didn't say just leave it up to the private sector. There's a role for government to leverage that, and a cap-and-trade system which allows for offsets from developing countries through the CDM is one superb way, potentially highly effective way with proper reform of leveraging massive amounts of private sector capital. Otherwise, governments, at least this government, the U.S., will never, ever appropriate for those levels of foreign aid. A third area, in addition to embracing these processes and consolidating the tracks, is focusing on some productive steps which can be made on what you could think of as narrow sub-agreements, such as in